gonna skip my breaks. I'm gonna make mistakes. I just wanna feel alive.
And Julia is the Director of Business Development at Next Generation, and she specializes in providing businesses with access to the next generation of talented leaders. She also helps career professionals move forward in their careers, as well as the next generation of career professionals in their hopes and goals of career success. So all of us. And today she will be speaking to us about salary and answering the question that you guys or that we have provided regarding salary and salary expectation and how students can go about articulating their value in the job market. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. Great meeting you. So I'm just going to begin going through a bit about my background, you guys, so you know why I'm up here speaking to you and you know what this experience came from. So my perspective as yours is always a direct result of your experience. Just walking through my background very quickly. Okay, so basically, I was a psychology undergrad and I wanted to get my PhD in psychology, which I never wound up doing, but I thought I wanted to be a psychologist, right? Wanted to help people, love talking to people about their problems. Went to SUNY Albany, and then I went to Columbia for my undergrad and for my master's in psychology. And I found during graduate school that I didn't want to continue getting a PhD because I was really becoming very limited in my master's in some very, very narrow regions within psychology that weren't that interesting to me. I didn't want to do research. I didn't want to measure the sucking response of a neonate, that's an infant. It was really boring and very research oriented, and I felt very lost. So I reached out to a few people that I went to grad school with, and a woman's friend, her boyfriend wound up working on Wall Street. I knew nothing about it, had never taken a business class, met with him, and he opened up a huge world to me of recruiting. Had never heard about recruiting or executive search. Joined his company and didn't have a clue for about a year what I was doing. It was rough, challenging, intimidating. I just figured I'd be fired. I couldn't imagine why I wasn't going to get fired. I didn't know the difference between a stock and a bond. I could care less about business. But something happened where my ability to speak with people and genuinely care about them and helping them solve their problems started to kick in when I started to ask people about their jobs and why they wanted this job and talk to them about other employers that I was working with and really get to know them and help advise them. So I started coaching them, even though that wasn't even a definition yet. And my career took off. For the next 23 years, I wound up being, at one point, probably for 5 straight years, the highest paid female recruiter on Wall Street, believe it or not, having never taken a business class. And I remember one of the partners saying to me, "You have no business being here," one day. I was the only female most of the time. I was the only female in any of these meetings, the youngest and the only female, and no business background. So I understand what it feels like to not feel like you belong and to feel like, oh my God, it's just a matter of time before they figure this out and I get fired. But I was able to do really well there, and then eventually returned to Columbia to get my coaching certification, start a coaching business, land at a college where I was so privileged to be able to meet with and work with Darlene, who is an incredible career coach. So you're very, very lucky to have her at Fordham, and I would highly encourage you to tap into her expertise. She truly cares and she's amazing. So I was able to take all this recruiting skill and then say, wow, I've recruited these hugely successful, very senior Wall Street people. Can I do this on a college campus? And once again, this isn't really what I've done. Can I figure this out? And I was able to successfully secure over 400 internships and full-time jobs for the other end, you guys, right? The entry level versus the super senior level, and really get to know some of the challenges and really hear what the employers are looking for from you all. So that's the background that I come to you with. I do a lot of speaking at different colleges, and I'm a career coach for Columbia, for Yale. I spoke at Wharton Women in Business. So I've been very much on the front lines now of what employers are looking for. So that's my background. I just joined Next Gen HQ, and we are the headquarters for the next generation. So I'd highly encourage you guys to click on and get our newsletter. It's we're trying to raise your voices and allow the voices of the next generation of leaders and of workforce to be heard by the huge employers who need to hire them, but are very often confused and don't understand how to motivate you or how to keep you and how to hire you. So that's what I'm doing now. Okay, so here's the initial premise, right? If I'm supposed to be talking today about what's your salary, right? And how you negotiate a salary. The most important thing that you can do when you start interviewing from the get-go is figure out what problem you're solving. That's always in any negotiation and in any interview. What problem does the employer have? Think ahead. Why are they hiring you? Why are they spending their time interviewing you? It's because you have skills that they need. You have skills that they need. This is an exchange. It always is the same, no matter what level you're at. You have skills that they need. I'm here today because I have expertise that you all need, right? You're interviewing at a job because they need your skills. Depending on your major, depending on your employer, and depending on the job, your job is to figure out ahead of time what those skills are and think in your mind about how you bring your voice forward in an interview to say, here's what you need and here's what I have. If you don't have what they need, we're not going to negotiate. There's no point. They're not going to hire you. They're not going to make an offer. If you want to get an offer, you have to look at the job description. It's right online. It doesn't take any kind of research. Job description, responsibilities, strong Excel skills, GPA of XYZ, clinical hours in nursing. So much of psychology is based on having some kind of experience evaluating or assessing. Whatever the skills are, make sure you understand them and you've thought ahead about answering questions about why your values and your skills are meaningful to that employer. If they're convinced of that, you'll be able to get a great salary. All right. Technical proficiency is utmost right now. This is a technologically oriented world. If you don't have technical skills, get some, right? You're at college. If you don't have things in the job description, the good news is take a few classes and make sure that you are armed at the end of your degree with every possible skill you can have for your major, for the jobs that you're interested in. So do your homework, look at the jobs, look at LinkedIn, look at Glassdoor, jobs for college grads, starting salaries, what's required. And you'll see technical jobs are paying at the highest, right? They always have, they always will, right? Petroleum engineers are making $86,000 out of college, right? Marketing, sociology, psychology are making 40-ish out of college, right? I'm not saying be a petroleum engineer, just understand the band that you come in, because then you can negotiate for the top bracket within that band, but still being realistic and having employers think that you're intelligent and you did your homework. Know how to represent yourself. Know how to stand up and say, this is me, here's my elevator pitch, this is what I like to do, here are my strengths. I'm great with math, I'm great with numbers, I'm great orally, I'm very organized. I prefer to work on teams. This is the role I usually play. And this is what I've accomplished in college. So make sure you work with your career team to have a very strong elevator pitch. It's really short, it's really small, but it tells an employer right away, here's my GPA and here's what I can do for you. People don't have a lot of time in business to waste on all this. They like to have it figured out right away. And if you can help them figure it out, they'll be very grateful. And they say, great, that person made it simple for me to hire her or him. Problem solving and critical inquiry are huge. So think about the things that you've done that are difficult. Think about your experiences in college and things where you thought you were going to fail and how you turned it around. Those will be very relevant to bring up in an interview and to know your value. I know how to push through problems because you're getting paid to do work and it's hard. So if an employer knows that you've done hard things already, you're less likely to fail or to quit or to be a management nightmare, then they'll want to hire you and pay you more. Working as a team is very important. You're doing it now in college. Leverage your teammates, leverage your network, develop relationships. You are each other's peers. And as you graduate and go forward in the work world together, it's very, very often that one of you will reach out to another when there's an open job at one of your companies. And they say, who do you know for this job? Well, this person in class was prepared, right? Came out with all the answers. I saw them work really hard. Those are the relationships and those are the networking contacts that you're already able to make. Outcome-driven performance means, how do you solve a problem? Here's our problem. We need strong Excel skills. We need someone who knows how to write. We need technical proficiency. Well, here's what I've done. Here are the projects. Here's the classwork that I've done. Here are the problems that I was given, and here are the solutions that I provided. Overcoming challenges is very important, right? Nobody is going to be more impressed than someone who has shown time and time again that they got over difficult things. They're stronger, smarter, more resilient, critical thinking, all of that as a result of overcoming challenges. And of course, many college students would tell me that they didn't know anything yet, and employers expect them to know all of this. They actually don't. They expect you to be who you are authentically. They expect you to be graduating college or going for a master's and saying, here's what I've done so far so I can speak to my experience. No one will expect you to speak to experience that you haven't had. They will expect you to bridge the gap and say, I haven't done XYZ yet, but last year I hadn't done XYZ and I learned that, and they're very similar skills. So I'm pretty sure I have the skills to be able to learn something new. I had an employer who just hired two class of 2018 grads, and both of them had never done some of the projects that this employer was asking them about. And the employer was doing it on purpose, trying to figure out where they begin and end. And they asked them both, how deep are your accounting skills? It was a female and a male, and the female said, I have to be honest, I took it in freshman year and I haven't done much with accounting and I haven't brushed up on it. I don't know the answer to this question, but I will find out the answer. And came back the next day by email. And after speaking with her friends who were accounting majors, they helped her figure out the answer. She came back. She got the job. The other, the male who answered the same question, he just kind of wung it. He's like, and he grabbed for this answer, thinking he was trying to do the best he could do. And the employer actually hired them both, but gave the feedback to the second student who said, don't BS me. Don't grab for it. Tell me, I don't know. Help me figure this out. Who can I get a tutor from? Who can I study with? Who can I network with to help? So really be honest, be authentic, tell them what you know, tell them what you haven't seen yet, but tell them you're going to go figure out the answer. And this dovetails nicely with how important it is to be who you are. And, you know, every interview, I always would tell our students to just exhale, just take a deep breath. You know, if there's some crazy interviewer who wants to be stressed out or give you questions you have no idea how to answer and hold that against you, awesome. That's not the place for you. You're not going to get that job. And I would venture to say you might want not to have that job because it's not going to be fun. You're not going to learn. You're going to be too stressed out. So be who you are. Your negotiating power resides with you as long as you have communicated clearly the skills that you have to the employer. Then you have the negotiating power. Employers will reach and stretch and give a little more than a job description said if they haven't found someone for the job and you come along and you have the skills and you definitely can prove that you can do the job, right? They will stretch for those people. We'll discuss when and how, you know, to ask for those things and when and how to negotiate, because it is really important you do it correctly. But most importantly, you don't start negotiating until you've already proven that you can do this job, that you've built a relationship with the negotiator, that there is a lot of conversations here about you guys really wanting to work together. And they know you're going to work hard because you've proven it. And they know that you've done difficult things because you've showed them. And most importantly, you've prepared. You know what this job is. You've looked on PayScale or Glassdoor or salary.com and you say, oh, this is my major. Here are the jobs. Here's the band, right? This past year it was 53 to 55,000 starting salaries with a sign-on bonus of $4,000. That's in this band. So when they say, what are your salary expectations? You can say, well, I did some research and this is what this is what I've seen. You've done your homework, you're prepared. And I would hope to be in the top quartile of that band. You didn't say $57,500, I'm not coming. You said, let me give you another example of why I'm prepared. I researched the job, I researched the title, I researched the salary. So I'm already showing why I'm valuable to you. Prepare for the interviews just like you would prepare to do the job. If you do your homework, you'll be most likely to get the offer that you want. Information is definitely your edge. Ask smart questions throughout the interview. I always would tell students, do not sell, do not hard sell. Your information and your questions are your ability to sell an employer. Be curious, be thorough, ask questions, develop relationships with employers. You should be smiling during an interview, and the interviewer should start smiling. That's how you can tell if you're going to get an offer. If you've got a deadpan and they're looking next and there's no connection, chances are you might not get that job. Pretty high that you won't. So develop a connection, because people want to work with people who they enjoy. You want to be in classes with people you enjoy. You want to learn from professors that you enjoy. It's basic human law. So I just did some quick stats, and there are a lot of jobs that are unfilled first quarter of 2021. Okay, 35% of these require a college degree. Okay, and the skills, here are the top skills most recently that employers are saying they want from college students. They might ask you questions about this. How do you major in 2 different things? How do you prepare for a test and work your part-time job and your internship? Talk about how you structure your time, because that's what they're going to wonder about how you're going to do the job. A lot of competing deadlines, a lot of people asking you to do things. Do you get frazzled, ruffled? Do you focus on things that don't need to be done now and forfeit things that are important in terms of deadlines upcoming? Do you know how to prioritize your time? So think about that ahead. Decision-making, collaboration, really important to get along with people and collaborate, because teams work way better than individuals. EQ is huge. Being able to read the room, being able to, on a Zoom or walk in an office and look around and say, oh, this employer has 2 or 3 pictures of children up, or hockey stuff, or whatever athletic things they have. Being able to read the room and ask some questions about that person, because you'll learn what motivates them, and you'll learn how they think, how they learn, and it will help you to develop a relationship and a rapport. Creativity and resilience speaks for itself. Being adaptable to change. Very often you'll go in, they'll say, oh yeah, we put this in the job description, but we've added this to it now. And you can't say, well, that wasn't in the job description. I don't know if I can speak with that now. You have to be adaptable and roll with the punches all the time in a business setting. And it's good. Things change all the time. Everything having to do with technology is constantly changing. And so you want to show that you are right there at the leading edge and being adaptable. I mean, look what we've all been through with the pandemic. Organizations that said, yes, it was awful, but we serviced our clients and we moved to Zoom and we made sure our employees were okay. They didn't just sit around and say, this is really difficult. They said, yes, it's really difficult, but how are we at the leading edge of making sure that our business goes forward so we can keep paying our people and give them jobs? That's what you want to align yourself with.
So Julia, you touched on a lot of the questions actually throughout your presentation, which was really great. And one question in particular, I think people have, especially like me as a woman, if you've noticed like trends in if women are less likely to get increased compensation, even if they ask the same as men, or just in general, like how to best go about asking when statistics show that women receive less compensation than men, especially when asking for an increase in salary.
Mm-hmm. So the data right now shows that employers are hiring women more than they're hiring men. So the workforce is more open to hiring women now than they ever have been before. In terms of salary, that means that you guys have an edge, that we have an edge, that females, since they are in a category that is still defined as diversity, because there are more men in the workforce apparently than females, or that we're catching up, there's an edge because employers say, you know, we did this a certain way and now we have to correct, right? Where it was incorrect before, maybe it's being just as incorrect now, but we're trying to figure out one pendulum swing to another to balance it out. So women have an advantage in the workforce right now. I've seen students from 2018 on who were females get the same numbers and the same starting salaries. Employers are no longer allowed to pay differently based on gender. They aren't. They used to. They aren't now. So the good news is negotiate, but don't negotiate because you're a woman. Negotiate because you have strong Excel skills and strong technical skills, and because you've researched the job and you just happen to be a woman. So it isn't some kind of reverse, well, I'm using this now because I want you to hire me because I'm a woman. Women are taking the same seat at the table as men. So I would encourage every woman to look at the numbers for the jobs. You can see them, do your research. The numbers are right there online. It's pay scale, salary, Glassdoor. Here's my major, top, band, and also don't forget geographics. New York City doesn't pay the same range as somewhere in Kansas. We're at the higher end because it's harder to work here. So negotiate based on the numbers and make sure that you know the numbers. So, and there's a whole art to negotiating, which we can discuss. I know there's a question because the way you negotiate is also really important. But no, I haven't seen recent differences in males getting one number and females getting another out of college.
Great, that's good to hear.
Yes.
Hi, how are you? I just have a quick question in regards to when you're starting your first job, when do you think is like an appropriate timeline to ask for a raise? I know that may like be different for different industries, but like general rule of thumb, what is like an approximate time when you're starting as an associate to ask for a raise?
Sure. So I'm not sure what industry you're speaking about, and it doesn't matter. I'm going to speak to all. When you get a job offer, right, you get a title, a salary, right? And salary, by the way, is base salary. That's what employers think about salary. There's also a sign-on bonus in many industries, and in many there aren't. So when you get the offer, part of your questions when you come back before you respond are, can you please also share your benefit package? That's part of the offer. If they give you 60,000 and the benefit package would have cost you 20 versus 10, that's also money that you're not paying out. What is the health care? How often am I reviewed? Is a perfectly logical question. How often am I reviewed? Who defines my salary increase? So who am I working for? How often are my performance reviews? And how often should I expect a performance-based salary review? It's a question. They should tell you all that when you come in the door, again, because you're asking smart questions. You want to know salary, you want to know healthcare, vacation benefits, dental, medical, performance reviews. Who reviews me and how often is my performance reviews? And what is the normal compensation review bonus plan? They should tell you that. I remember when I joined a college, I asked them, they had no idea. Like, do we get 3%, 2%, none, cost of living, right? Make your employer go find out if they're not sure. So it's just you being really intelligent and asking questions.
Okay, I have another question. So kind of like a hypothetical. So say like people of different majors are ending up working in the same job or like in the same business and going kind of for the same role. Earlier, you said that GPA equates salary. I'm also wondering if major equates salary if you're going for the same position. Have you seen any trends like that? People earning
really
different things.
yeah. So, I mean, there was a job for technology consulting and with one of the top consulting firms. And different majors were going for that job. Software engineering majors were going for it, technology majors, computer science majors, math majors were all going for that same job. The skills can be attained in any of those buckets, right? The skills were very much numeric, analytics, and data. You could come at it from a data perspective, technology perspective, or a math perspective. The employer didn't care how they got there. What separated the student who got the job from the others who didn't was the EQ, the preparedness, how much the employer liked this person they were interviewing. So however those different majors are answering the questions of, this is why I've done well, these are the problems I can solve for you. Here's the training about how I got here. And by the way, there were really different colleges. You know, where you go to school matters to a point, your major matters to a point, and your GPA matters. You know, we had many students who said, I'm not going to a way better college because my GPA will go down. You know, there are a whole bunch of factors that go into it, and you should be prepared to answer those questions. Employers will say, why did you choose Fordham? Our employers used to say, why did you go to Mercy College, business honors? And the answer was a great way to showcase your thought process. We taught our students to say, it's a very small, nationally ranked program. I wanted smaller classrooms so I could develop relationships with people. So when they start asking, why did you choose Fordham? Why did you? What other offers did you have? What was your decision-making process? So lots of different majors can get to the same place. They're going to want to know your linear thinking and how you got there and why and what you did with that major. Less important to them than how you got there, way more important what you did with it.
Great, thank you. Another question from F. Fernandez. They're asking, would you mind asking Julia to go into salary negotiations?
Sure. I had a feeling that was coming. So in general, it's difficult to talk about compensation for everyone, but mostly for you guys, right? It's new. You're not really sure what your value is. And it's dicey. So what you want to make sure of is that, most importantly, you don't lead with compensation. You as the candidate do not bring up compensation out of the box, right? Compensation is a discussion point after someone says to you, we're considering you for this job. They might say to you, let's put the question on the, they might say to you, they're not allowed to say, what did you make in your last job? They are allowed to say, which I always would say to candidates on Wall Street. So where's the yes? Where's the yes? Where are we going here? Where's the yes? And so the rule of thumb used to be the first one who put the number on the table lost, right? Because then you don't know your negotiating posture. So you know your negotiating posture because you've done your homework. So if you're a nursing major or a psychology major or a comp sci major, you know the class of 2020 averaged 55,000 nationwide. But in New York, that was different. So you know your numbers. You know that 87,000 was the highest, but that was petroleum engineers, and that's not you because you've done your homework. So you're not coming with no information and then saying, but I want more than whatever the range was, which I don't know. You're saying, okay, for this role, whatever it is, you know the range. And so when an employer says to you, I said to all my students, what are your salary requirements for this role? You're throwing the ball right back to them, but you're saying, well, for XYZ job, I happen to know the range is between 56 and 59,000 with a 10,000 sign-on bonus. I know that that's what you've paid. I looked at Glassdoor, and I have a bunch of people that work at your company, and I've asked them, and I have networking, and I've heard about this. So I've done my homework. You have a whole bunch of people you can ask questions. What was your starting salary? You have alumni in your network that you can say, what are the starting salaries? You work here. I want to work here. What were the salaries? So you can say, I've learned this much, and I would expect to be in the top range of people who come in with the same skills that I do. That's the only and the best way to say, I'm smart enough to say I want to be in the top band, but I'm not going to say that's 56 or 58 plus 10 grand because it changes. And with COVID, it changed a lot this year. So be smart, do your research. You know that nursing majors are now making way more money because of a pandemic. So be very aware of the shifts in the market that are the reasons that your salary is floating up and down, right? There's a shortage now. Be sure that you're reading newspapers, read the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times or whatever it is to know that college grads are in demand. You need to know that. So your leverage in negotiating is probably stronger than if we're in a horrible decline and you're negotiating in the same way. So know the economic factors that go into the decision that your employer is going to make, and develop a really good relationship with whoever it is that's negotiating with you. Do not negotiate with someone cold stone that you haven't met before. First interview, hi, before I go further, I just want to know what the salary is. That's really not the way that you want to warm up an employer. They need to feel good if they're stretching for you. That recruiter or HR person is going to go back and say, I interviewed 15 people today. There's this one student that's amazing we have to have. She wants, $5,000 more than is in the thing, and I think we should do it for her. And don't forget, if you push for a higher salary, you don't know what the bonus was if there's a sign-on. So they're like, okay, here's $5,000 more. They just took it out of your sign-on bonus. So net, you're still behind. So make sure that you do all your research and then say you want to be paid in the top band based on your research that's been shown to you. They'll be impressed by you and they'll probably give it to you.
And speaking of research, what are some resources that you recommend? You mentioned Glassdoor, the Wall Street Journal, that you think students should use to determine what salary either they should ask for, or like what their target range is for their job.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much online. It's all right there. You just put in starting salaries of class of 2021 based on your major, and you get like 5 or 6 websites with the numbers there. However, if you're recruiting at a specific organization and they're targeting you and you've got 2 or 3 rounds with them, right? You go onto their website, you look at their events, you look at feedback from employees on Glassdoor that worked at American Express, Deloitte, Mount Sinai Hospital. What are employees saying about salaries, right? Great base salary, but no promotions. Great base salary, but we never move from there. There's so much that you don't know, but it's available. So make sure that you know what it is. And we used to never negotiate entry level because we knew that once you perform, the ability to have a bonus and for them to give you a bonus was so high that you just didn't care about the salary. You just went in and worked really hard. Most recently, the past 2 years, I've seen students go in and have a couple different job offers and say, and I coached one student and it worked, so I'll share this. She had an offer at Deloitte and she had 10 offers. Deloitte was where she wanted to work, but another firm, Accenture, had made her an offer for $100,000 out of college, class of 2020, math major. 2 years ago, class of 2020, $100,000, right? She wanted to work at Deloitte, 86, right? 82 plus 12, 96. 82 plus 12 sign on. She really wanted to work at Deloitte. So she was dead honest. I coached her and I said, and she went back and she said to Deloitte, I really want to work here. You are my number one firm. That's important for an employer to know when you're negotiating, as opposed to, hey, can you pay me more? Because I'm saying the same thing to 5 different firms. So I'm going to bid you all against each other. No employer wants to be bid against each other. No student wants to say, hi, we're making you an offer, but if someone else responds before you do, then we're not going to have you join us, right? Think about how crazy that is. So the student went and said, I want to work here. You're my number one firm. However, I have an offer from another firm for $12,000 more. Is there anything else that you might be able to do? And the employer came back and said, no, we're not going to increase. But what you should know is our healthcare package versus that company's is $12,000 more. And the hours that you'll be working here are way less than you'll be working there, and time equals money. So there are a lot of factors, but she was very honest. She said, I want to work here. You have me no matter what, but I do have a competitive offer that's higher. And I wanted to share that with you in case I could. She said it in a nice way, not bidding them against each other. She built the relationship. Being honest.
Thank you. Yeah, authenticity is something you really stress in your presentation. Okay, so we have time for one more question. So we just if you would like to share a little bit more about just your role at NextGen HQ.
Oh, sure.
About it.
Yeah, so NextGen, you guys, I hope you'll all look at the websites. We just wrote a book. It's a really cool place. And you are the next generation of talent. that employers are desperately trying to hire. But we're trying to help bridge this gap that we found between what employers are thinking and what the next generation is really thinking about work, right? The beautiful thing about the pandemic, if you can imagine, is that people want to be at work, other people want hybrid, people want to be able to do their exercise, see their pets, see their parents, see their boyfriend or girlfriend, and employers don't know how to deal with it. It's a real question of CEOs saying, wow, do I need them to be in the office? Which level? This is a big problem. How do I figure this out? So at NextGen HQ, we're trying to help students and next generation workers to succeed in work and in life, to be happier, to not feel like you hate your job and you're there all these hours a day and you don't get to work out or have a life. So we're changing the way employers are treating the next generation by raising the voices of the next generation with employers. And we have a huge summit in June. We have all these entrepreneurs coming. So I'd encourage you all to get online and buy tickets and come. It's a really pivotal time for you guys to help change the world.
Wow, wow. Thank you so much, Julia, for all of this information. Kate, thank you so much for being such a wonderful host and asking some of those detailed questions. I was taking some notes as well. I love what you said, Julia, about don't lead with compensation. And it's not so much about how you get there, but why you chose the path that you did to get there. So thanks again. This concludes our senior series. We will be posting our previous videos, including this one, on our YouTube page, Fordham Careers. So thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.